Okay, so welcome to take two of another edition of Northern Ireland Wrestling Connection, or if you're listening to the audio version, the first time we've actually uploaded this on WrestleShock. So
Yeah.
I'm your host of sorts, Chris Vint, and the person to my right is...
My name's Chris Hill, or Mr. Big Red 1990 on YouTube, or Chris Hill 90 on Twitter, and I'm just going to plug myself now, so sorry about that.
Okay, well, you'll have nothing to do at the end of the video.
I'll do it again then.
And the person to my left is...
Plain old Allan Price.
Yeah, the internet correspondent. So yeah, we are sitting here, it is 25 minutes past 10 and we're waiting until 1 o'clock to watch the Royal Rumble, so thought we'd kill a bit of time, send out our thoughts to YouTube land, basically see what we think is going to happen, and then see what actually does happen. So with the internet community and YouTube, etc., people all go, this is going to happen, and then it doesn't happen at all. So, Alan, what's the first match we're going to talk about?
First match we're going to talk about...
Sorry, breaking news.
Breaking news!
Due to new laws, credit records, so I can now lower my monthly repayments and have 75% of my debt written off.
Are you in debt?
No.
Okay, well, where'd that come from then? Right, first match of the evening is the YouTube pre-show, which contains one of Chris's favourite wrestlers, this Chris here, and one of my favourite wrestlers here. Yes, if you can guess, Mr. Vint isn't a fan of Cesaro. So it's Antonio Cesaro versus The Miz for the United States Championship in the pre-show. Right, what do we think is going to happen on this? Being the pre-show...
Can I first of all say that this is probably the first pre-show match that actually has some decent talent in it?
Yes, it isn't like Cesaro versus Santino or anything like that.
R-Truth.
And it is for the US title.
It is for the US title.
It wasn't actually for the US
See, I
title.
think this could be quite interesting. I could see the title swapping hands here because they're wanting to push Miz as a face, and they're wanting to push him using the figure four.
But you see,
now.
I think that the title won't change hands, and I...
Hi! We're back.
Welcome back.
We're experiencing some technical difficulties on YouTube land.
Yeah, so sorry you were looking at the ceiling there, but it's because the Miz has already hit the
He's
heights,
awesome.
you know, so I can see it being that Cesaro retains his title and him and Swagger have a big feud, because obviously he's been saying that he hasn't beat any US, you know, anyone from the United States hasn't beat him, so Swagger will come back and then do that.
Swagger's coming in as Captain America.
Unless you can maybe see, well, it could be Rey Mysterio as Captain America.
He hasn't actually done that gimmick yet, I don't think, has he?
No, he's done
He's done just about everything.
Captain Mexico.
He's done Silver Surfer, he's done Daredevil, he's done Joker whenever...
Batman.
He's done Batman.
Avatar.
Or that... Well, no, that was the Smurf. He's
Sure, I think he did Avatar because he had a tail one year.
Okay,
That was the year he fought Punk, I think.
I was being sarcastic.
26.
But anyway. So...
Do you not understand? It's easily lost on us.
Okay, well, I'm going to say that Cesaro retains his belt in this one.
I would go on with that as well. I just don't think it's time for him to drop it just yet and not in a pre-show. So yeah, really have a whole lot to say.
I would think if the title's not going to change hands tonight, then it'll be a case of it'll be some sort of screw job finish where they can get away with it because it's a YouTube show, setting up the pay-per-view and stuff like that.
Or what about
it would be a good. It would be for me. I think this would be a good actual proper pay-per-view match. So
yeah. I think why not just allow them to enter into a feud even, Miz and Cesaro.
I like to see him as bigger things than the US.
I know. This is the thing, WWE titles occupy from now to WrestleMania.
Miz isn't going to be anywhere near that for a while, so,
Well, I wouldn't
mind
mind even him and somebody else teaming up and trying to go for the tag belts or trying to go for the Intercontinental Championship since Barrett is IC champion.
Barrett.
And then see those two having a feud because I think that'll be quite good because both of them are quite good on the microphone. So
True.
Well, of course that won't happen. It'll be like The Miz versus Zack Ryder or some nonsense.
Personally, I would like to see The Miz win the title, but chances because it's a pre-show slim. Mind Cesaro did win it on the pre-show, the US title, didn't he? From Santino, wasn't it? On the pre-show.
Right. I just think he has a bit more to do with the belt before he loses it, but and Miz I think is ready to go further up the card than to go back with another mid-card belt at this point after just having the IC belt. So.
True. The first match we would suspect of the evening, WWE have thrown curveballs in the past in terms of what goes on first.
I think it'll either be the tag or
the World Heavyweight.
The
World Heavyweight would be an interesting one to start because it'll get everybody really fired up because it's a last man standing. But we're just going from bottom to top on what it looks like here
I
on
think it
paper.
probably won't go, but I think that'll probably be like a big chunk. I
It
think
would-
it'll
it would
probably
make
be like
s- it
about
would
half
make
an
s-
hour thereabouts.
It would make sense for the World Heavyweight title to go on first, because then it goes out, it'll probably be about a 20 to 30 minute match,
Yeah.
like you say. The crowd will be really into it, and then they'll be a bit spent after that. And then you'll have the tag team title match,
Or they'll
where
throw
the-
a
where the
Divas
crowd-
match
Yeah, I
in
was
at
gonna
some
say
point.
the
where,
Divas.
where the crowd can kind of bring themselves back and relax and stuff like that.
Well, you see, the thing
Be
is
ready,
that
ready, because they're going to have not only the WWE title match, but also the Rumble. This
But I
crowd
was
is going
gonna
to
say,
need a lot
They
of
have
energy.
a lot of cheering to do tonight.
don't forget that Kane and Daniel Bryan are in the Rumble, so there is a possibility that they could go in first rather than being the third match on the card, then only having a break for half an hour,
That's
then
true.
to go into the Rumble.
Yeah.
You know?
Whereas Del Rio, Big Show, it's more than likely a case of they'll be not going in the Rumble. The only one could possibly would be whoever loses that match. But Big Show usually is in the last couple of places anyway, even if he does.
Mm.
But anyway, we'll talk about the tag title match. Hell No versus Team Rhodes Scholars. Now, this is a wee bit interesting for two of us here at the table, everybody, because myself and Mr. Hill have put a little bet on, courtesy of Sky Bets.
A free bet at that.
A free bet
A
for
bet
signing up.
nonetheless.
I have put other bets on, which we'll talk about in a bit.
Northern Ireland Wrestling Connection doesn't condone gambling.
Sponsored by Sky Bet.
Get your life on.
But we have both put our money down for Team Hell No retain. Personally, and we kind of talked about this earlier, there's not been enough done with Rhodes Scholars to warrant
I
the
mean,
titles
I
going on
think-
to them yet.
Anytime they've ever had any association with Hell No so far, they've always more or less been defeated, or they haven't been particularly strong. So that's why I think I could see them potentially allowing Rhodes Scholars to go over, but at the same time, the last few weeks, their TV time hasn't been great. All the attention's been on Hell No.
Yeah.
And as a lot of people say, it's not broke, so why fix it?
But it seems to be, we went on the path of getting so many great tag teams like this, like Primetime Players, like to name but a few. But it seems to be lately, as you say, their TV time seems to be diminishing. Fair enough, Team Rhodes Scholars were in front of The Rock,
Yeah.
which is as big as it kind of can get. But what happens with, if Rhodes Scholars don't win, where do they go from there?
Exactly.
The only thing that I could see maybe happening is something that we talked about would be, maybe minus the Undertaker, but would be the Shield versus Team Hell No.
Mm.
And then have Taker join them.
Yeah,
Sure.
WrestleMania. Yeah.
That would be interesting.
If
Six-
Taker's
six
not
man,
going
yeah.
to do a big
Yeah.
physical kind of match.
Perfect way to protect Taker, and everybody's just going to be happy to see Taker in the ring, so...
Or of course they could be going down the road of just, starting the,
Could you imagine if... Could you imagine
a
if
group hug with the
WrestleMania...
three of them, that would be
Yeah,
something
six
else.
man group hug at the end. It's like,
Well, he
Come-
did that
come on,
last
brother.
year. Did that with Shawn Michaels and Triple H, so
yeah.
Dr. Shelby comes out, Undertaker, you must embrace your
Or
brother.
of course they could just do the thing and start the breakup of Daniel Bryan and Kane.
I really hope not, because to me, there's some people are finding Daniel Bryan and Kane really boring now, but I don't
still
get it
think
at all.
they've got a bit of steam.
Every segment I watch with these two, I'm laughing.
I've yet to watch a segment with those two,
And I'll be entertained.
and 9 times out of 10, whenever you're watching Raw, like say Randy Orton comes out, fast forward.
Yeah.
But whenever those two come out, it's like a case of I really want to see what happens,
Exactly.
and they are entertaining. I just worry that, like with The Rock is very good whenever he has somebody else to bounce off. But I think The Rock, his promos seem very lackluster and very samey.
It's
whenever
because
him by himself.
he's from a different era.
But it's a case of what happens with Daniel Bryan whenever,
Well, there was rumours before this whole Hell No thing really took off, was that he would eventually get turned face. He is effectively a face now with Kane.
But as you say, he needs to choose either a yes or no.
Yes.
No.
Maybe.
I will say,
Maybe.
I think whenever they do eventually split off, Daniel Bryan will be moving back up the card again to...
Because they are very high on him.
Oh, absolutely,
So
yeah. I think he'll be back in the...
he
title picture at
deserves. He
some
definitely
point.
deserves. He's had the world heavyweight title. I think he deserves a WWE title run at some stage
Oh,
down the line.
It's just a matter of time.
I would like to see an Iron Man match between him and CM Punk at some stage in the future. I think that would be an absolute.
'Cause we didn't-
I
we
think it would be
seen-
a barn burner.
We've seen a bit of them over the summer, but not really enough or what
Yeah,
they can do.
and then they went and threw.
Yeah.
Didn't throw Kane
They
in
threw
the match,
Kane
the triple threat,
which
yeah.
I of course liked and I thought worked at the time, but they
But it's
still
kinda
made that big.
Everybody was still wanting. We hadn't
Exactly.
seen enough of Punk in him.
Because they'd only, I think, had that one match over the limit or whatever it was, and then it was just kind of
Then they
forgotten
had
about.
one
then
Raw,
that's-
but it wasn't.
That's something that you want to keep in your back pocket. I mean,
It
you
would-
look
it would
at
be
that.
fantastic
You
if
look at that
that's
Royal
It was a big
Rumble.
money feud to happen. for
You look at that
them.
Royal Rumble whenever Undertaker and Shawn Michaels fought each other, and the crowd were just embracing
Yeah,
that. And then
yeah.
it was a case of we had to wait a couple of years to see them one on
But it
one.
was worth the wait.
Yeah,
It's probably
so
the same thing.
That's
going to
be a
They
high
haven't
profile
even
mania
begun to
match.
scratch the surface with those two yet working together.
Exactly, and it's not as if they're running out of time with them. Well, maybe they would with Punk, but I think, like you would have up and comers that you can, like, could you imagine a Dolph Ziggler Daniel Bryan match?
Yeah.
Or they could just go back to Hell No again, have them retain, and then at the Rumble maybe start a bit of tension
I
or
would-
one
I would- I would
eliminates
be-
the other
yeah.
or something like that.
I would be far happier to see Daniel Bryan and Kane in a tag team match at WrestleMania because
The only other option, I think,
no offense to the big red monster, but the last few years when he's had single matches, they haven't been the best. Like Randy Orton, didn't help matters.
no.
But I think that with the dynamic with Daniel Bryan in the tag team, that could be a really good
Because I think if
WrestleMania
they
match.
do split them up, it will lead to Kane versus Daniel Bryan in a singles
Yeah.
match.
Yeah,
And I think they're probably more effective together in a team
Mhm.
rather than going for another singles match.
Yeah.
Because if they if they really end up breaking the two of them up and basically them feuding and getting angry with each other again, it just ruins kind of everything that people have enjoyed over the last.
I think they've
sort of
struck
many
gold with
months.
those two, but they've struck gold accidentally with them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
By putting them together.
Because I remember when it initially happened, I was just like, what the hell are they thinking?
Still should be team friendship.
Yes, definitely should be team friendship. I think we make those t-shirts for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Just
But
Well, I don't want to have hug it out in the back of it in case I get hugged by some strange dude.
But anyway, hell no.
Hell no.
Because we bet on it.
but I wouldn't be surprised if they did
Yeah.
go with Rose Scotch because they do need it.
A lot of them have been, like disqualification, count out, that kind of thing. So I would like to see Rhodes Scholars get the belts and see what
But
happens
maybe
from
now
there.
it just isn't the time yet.
I don't think
so.
now's the time. I think if they can get Daniel Bryan and Kane through to WrestleMania and then maybe Rhodes Scholars win it. Mania, I think
But the
that'd be
thing is,
interesting.
say, obviously the Shield and Taker thing doesn't happen, who does Hell No then as a team face at Mania?
I think
No.
it's going to be like WrestleMania 20. It's going to be like a gauntlet match.
Mhm.
Gauntlet or
Like,
Fatal 4-Way or something.
yeah,
like
fatal
that.
four
So you
way
could bring in the Prime Times and
Primo and Epico.
Primo and Apico.
or the Usos.
Unfortunately, not Tyson Kidd and Justin Gabriel.
Unfortunately not.
Or
Sorry, no.
if we don't see Ray and Sin Cara, maybe they would be in there.
So we're all going for Hell No on that
Hell
one,
no.
then, yes.
Yeah.
Hell yes.
Hell yes. Hell maybe.
Who knows?
So World Heavyweight Championship, Alberto Del Rio versus The Big Show in a last man standing match.
Strange that they're
obviously,
giving us the same stipulation
Mhm.
again after
Yeah.
we've just seen it in free TV. And all
I would
that.
like
they'll
to
maybe
see-
be able to go a wee bit further because it's pay-per-view, is classified PG.
Well, they'll have to do something to change it up a bit.
I would have
Yeah.
preferred to see like maybe a 30-minute Iron Man or 30-minute Iron Man. Like who gets him
Big
shows.
Show.
Yeah, but it's a case of if he's going 30 minutes in
I
this
suppose it's-
anyway.
yeah.
So
He'll,
it's just a
he'll be
case
going
of
close to 30 minutes, definitely.
rather than you having this rather than
Same
you having the
gimmick
same
match,
gimmick,
yeah.
you've got something different. Because then it's a case of Del Rio needs to knock him out and he needs to pin him rather than just waiting for the count of 10, which he's done once before. So it's just a case of just mixing it up there.
But obviously a lot has happened from when we've last recorded, of which, sorry, we must apologise that the final segment of the Christmas special didn't go up. Our compatriot Haley was rather sick over Christmas.
And in case you wonder why she's not here, it's because with us all staying up to watch the Rumble, she has a uni the next day, so kind of couldn't make it for
She
that.
look what
So
she
she's going to be
Needs the important beauty sleep.
The Punk GTS is going to hit her.
Exactly.
That's going
But we will try to get it up at some stage, but
and she should be here for the next video as well.
Yeah.
Somebody's light just went on behind me there. Just had a good idea.
next door neighbour.
Just looked like a really good idea.
But in terms of the figure,
Mm.
Del Rio.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I think Del Rio has made that belt since he has come back.
Definitely.
In
as a
those few
face.
short weeks, it's
Like-
just completely rejuvenated his whole character.
Again,
Yeah.
similar to what I
Hell No.
initially thought with Hell No.
Yeah.
Going, seeing
Because
that,
he's one of those guys.
seeing that match at the last pay per view what was it TLC? seeing him and Miz
It just
tagging
didn't work.
with Brooklyn Brawler. I was like,
It just looked so unnatural because I think you know what it was like 1 week they were heels and next
Yes.
minute it just seemed like they were face and it was like you're all of a
But it
sudden
was the week
cheering
after that
and-
whenever he moved down Santa going at like
Yeah.
2 miles an
you're
hour.
right,
it's
but
just
they
like,
just
and then you're
they curtailed
changed
this.
their mind
Yeah.
already. But
yeah.
now that it's kind of in full blown face mode, I think
And
it's
he
working.
is. I've been really, really enjoying it.
Yeah.
as a face.
It seems like he's brought out different arsenal of moves, like
Mhm.
moves that we haven't seen, like a moonsault from the second
Mhm.
rope, and you know, just a lot of moves. Like he did,
The
like
Hurricane
a,
Rana that he's
yeah,
doing a lot on the show
yeah.
and whatnot.
Right, there was like one that he actually did. He actually flipped behind him and grabbed him with the back of his legs and kind of flipped him over.
I think he's just changed his moveset to make it a bit more face and fan
I think he
Because
needs-
I think we haven't been seeing his full potential with him as a heel.
obviously the heel
As
for-
a heel, you have to work a certain way.
you
So
don't
all these,
go
all
flashy.
these hurricanranas and stuff like that, they don't work for a
Because
heel
they
because
get the
they're sort
pop.
of they're there, like
Yeah.
you say, to get the crowd to pop.
Maybe that's why they've done this, is because Ray has obviously has left due to some kind of personal reasons,
Mhm.
and then Sin Cara's injured, so they need their high
I
flyer
need their Latino.
luchador, you know, kind of thing.
And I
But
think
that's maybe
also,
why
you
they've
know,
done it with him.
Ricardo was really helping him too.
Ricardo's fantastic.
As
like,
you
he's
said,
such a
he's
laugh.
not his servant anymore, he's his friend. And
Yeah.
I think
Mi
that
amigo.
endears people to him
Yeah.
as well.
And Ricardo's always getting the crowd into it now when he's doing that, you know, Alberto, you
Yeah.
know, the crowd
And the
is
whole-
joining in.
Because
Whole
as we were
scene
saying,
chants as
yeah,
well.
near the end of his kind of heel run, Ricardo was almost more entertaining than
Ricardo was the most entertaining
So
thing,
he's a
but
very-
Ricardo was already on his way to being
Yeah.
face.
But one thing I really hope that they don't go back to doing is having Del Rio in the same feuds. I
Yeah.
want to see maybe one more match with the Big Show, and then that's it, and then having
Well,
you know,
this
facing off with
is
somebody else.
this is Big Show's rematch.
So
So
that
if he
should be
loses
it.
this, he's done. He'll have to either go to the back of the queue or earn another title shot.
Yeah.
So, and it's not like he can, you know, there can be a disqualification or anything in this match.
Yeah.
So there's no excuses. It has
And
to
I expect it to be good. I mean, their first last man standing match was
I just wonder, is the table going to get involved again, because they keep pushing this. Because Del Rio won the World Heavyweight title by burying Big Show under the table. This week on SmackDown, Del Rio gets put under the table by Big
And
Show.
it really looked like Big Show struggled to move that table, even though Del Rio could.
Del
kinda
Rio
do
did
at
it rather
least.
easily, like, yeah.
The one thing about this match is, do we see a cash in? Because it's a last man standing match, so somebody can't go into the count of 10.
But this
Obviously, if they're underneath the table, then it's going to be a bit difficult for him to run out, move the table, and then pin him.
I said this the other week. Like, I personally think at this rate, the way we're going, we won't see a cash in until Mania. I do think.
I am shocked they've held off this long because I just have never thought WWE would have the patience. But as you say, now they've waited this long, then
We'll speak
Well, I have
about
to go right to Mania.
we'll speak about what I think is going to happen once we get to said Rumble match. But we're all going for Del Rio, I take
Go.
it. Yes.
Yes, I really hope that.
See.
I really hope that he wins, because I think
Just
as
been
you
enjoying
said,
his
you know,
character too much.
exactly. I've actually been enjoying him. I've been enjoying watching him on SmackDown and stuff.
Del Rio can do much more with it at this point than Big Show. He's explored, I think, everything he can do with the
Yeah.
belt. You know,
He needs to bring the cars back though. He hasn't been using the cars.
he's got the pyro kind of going on at the back now.
He
hasn't he?
needs to stand there and go like that there though, and then have it come down.
And he's got different scarves and all now.
And then you didn't talk about Ricardo and his Mexican bow
Oh,
tie.
that
all-
tie is fantastic.
It all just works.
I just want it to spin now for something like that. Be quite funny. But yeah, Del Rio for all of us then. What would you rather talk about first? Would you rather talk about the WWE title, or would you like to talk about the Royal Rumble?
What about the Divas?
Well, there's nothing confirmed at the time of recording.
I hope it's not something like Caitlyn and
They are considering
It's probably
putting a Divas
Caitlyn,
match.
the
Alicia
Russian,
Fox, I
the
don't know.
Russian girl or
And
something.
Sam.
I could see possibly Caitlyn versus Layla, and
See,
Layla.
They haven't
heel.
officially turned her heel yet, though, have they?
No, but there's not even really
hints.
dropped a hint, a full blown hint as such.
It's been kind of
It was
subtle
just that
with
wee
the-
tiny one, the SmackDown after Caitlyn won the belt, where Layla's like,
Yeah.
oh, can I see that?
Which makes me wonder, though, will they actually bring Layla out tonight, or will they wait until they actually turn her?
I
first?
could see that being in the build up to Mania, that being
Because they
Caitlyn's
need a
feud
big
is with
kind
Layla.
of divas
I
thing.
would, I would
for
be
Mania.
completely happy with that, because that would
Yeah.
be a very, very good
And in
match.
fairness to Caitlyn, I've enjoyed what she's done.
Or we could,
Yeah.
or we could see the eventual build up to an AJ versus Caitlyn match at Mania, because Mania again is in Jersey, which is where not Caitlyn, sorry, AJ
One
is
thing I
from.
noticed in that aftermath thing was Jimmy Corderas. He mentioned that the fans aren't invested in Caitlyn, but I would
I
disagree.
completely disagree. She's had the title for 1 week.
So you
To
can't
be
really.
to be quite honest, the fans did pop when she won the title. Now, yes, you have to concede the fact that it was in her hometown,
Yeah.
but
And the general
I
state of the
really
division.
can see Caitlyn
But to be honest with
becoming
you-
a Trish Stratus of this era.
To be honest with you, is there many women who would win the Divas title that many people would pop for?
Nope.
Nope.
Not at
Exactly.
all.
So I mean,
It's simple as WWE fans don't care about the Divas division.
There's no expectations.
Triple H doesn't care about the WWE
Yeah.
Divas division because he knows the fans don't
Well, that's
care. He
whenever
knows
you-
they go off to the popcorn
Exactly.
and the merchandise stand and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff.
That's why it suffers from a lack of investment, really.
Yeah.
No one
But
cares.
personally, I really think, I know Triple H doesn't want to invest in the Divas division, but I think if they really build this division around the likes of AJ and Caitlyn,
They need to start building it around the workers who
They
can work
can,
a
they
match.
can be the Trish Stratus and the Lita of this era.
Because it's
Divas.
crying out for a new face of the Divas division.
And it's
all-
again, back when there was that NXT season with the Divas, I did not think at all we would be at this situation where we would have Caitlyn and AJ on the main roster.
Yeah.
Like, I liked AJ back when she was on that, but again, Caitlyn was the one that was she
Not
replaced
anymore.
like that Mahusive person
Yeah.
that Vicky Guerrero was meant to have, but she got the girl that was like 7 foot something.
Oh
she
yes, yeah.
got replaced very quick. Didn't
She was due
Maybe
to
make it on
appear,
the
she didn't
show,
appear,
sure.
and then he was like, I've replaced her with him here, then it became Caitlyn. But definitely Caitlyn and AJ can be the kind of shining lights for
And
the
then you
women's
have
division.
Paige down in NXT who gets rave reviews.
She is going to be fantastic
I
as well
think
if
so.
they just use her
Yeah.
correctly because number one, she's British. Yay.
Like us.
Yay.
All Irish bums or whatnot.
What?
Oh.
When was this? I didn't hear this. Never mind. But I think she could have real potential as well, like, because she can wrestle. Like, haven't seen NXT.
Did you see the Channel 4 documentary that time about Paige? And her
No.
family and her working
I
on
knew her-
independence here.
I knew her mum and all was a
Yeah.
wrestler and all that sort
You've
of
seen them
stuff.
having tryouts with WWE at SmackDown.
No, no,
It
I
showed
haven't-
you
I haven't
the
seen
match
that.
that her brother had with the show, and well, it was interesting.
Never saw that.
But even then, you
I'll
could
have to find
tell
it.
she had something. You seen her getting her contract with WWE
It'd be good if
development.
they did like if she.
Plus, she's
played-
kind of the female Sheamus because she's very pale as
I
well.
was going to say if you paired her up with Layla, you know, like you made them both heels, you know, like they did with Beth and Natalia, because then you got the British connection there, and then you
Plus,
had Regal into the mix.
She almost reminds me a wee bit of
Katie Lee, even.
Kitty
for
Lee,
me.
but also mixed with a wee bit of Daphne from TNA.
Yes,
Because she does
yes.
that
Yeah.
sort of
The
scream
high-pitched
Yeah.
scream. Yeah.
sort of thing, which works.
I
It's
think we'll
cool.
talk about the WWE Championship before the Rumble.
Did we talk more nearly longer about the Divas than the best title match there?
I think
Probably.
yeah.
What do you want to talk about then?
WWE Championship.
WWE Championship. Okay. Who's in the match? I can't.
Thanks.
Is there
They
anybody?
haven't really promoted it very well.
Someone that's been champion for over 400 days and some other part-timer sort of guy, I don't know. CM Punk versus the People's Champion, the most electrifying man in all of entertainment, The Rock. Right. This is going to be an interesting one this evening. In the build-up to this, there has been something extremely stressed. That Vince McMahon, even though he couldn't get it right in his promo, God love me, is getting old, said that the Shield, if they get involved in Punk's match, Punk will lose the title even though he will be disqualified.
And that we think is a very important point.
Exactly. The Shield is the only one that has been stressed. So that leaves
That's
many doors
So
open.
it's almost
It's almost
an
like
alarm bell.
It's
that should
almost
be
like
telling you.
it was almost like the John Laurinaitis match. Whenever he said, "If any WWE superstar interferes, they will be fired." And who was fired?
Big Show. Exactly.
So it's kind of a case of
it's setting
right.
it up.
It's an
And
alarm
then-
bell, really.
And
for
then
us.
you see earlier on in the evening, Brad Maddox and Paul Heyman kind of getting all pally together. So whether it's a case of we see a ref bump, he comes out in a ref t-shirt and starts the count. That's what I.
So you have a
see
Brad
happen.
Maddox as a possible interference.
Lesnar.
Lesnar, I think,
as an
would be
outside,
higher. Maybe Lesnar and Maddox, because we've seen Heyman this last sort of week say, you know, you're starting to grow on me, kid. Sort of, you know, I respect your tenacity and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. Could we see that Lesnar comes out,
The only thing
beats
is,
the hell out of Rock, and
the
then
only thing
Maddox
is
does the
if,
count?
if they do go with Lesnar, then what does that leave the Triple H thing? You know?
Or could we see a massive
Rock.
curveball and Mark Henry coming out?
He did say he would see us all soon.
He did. And that was quite a
One
while
of
ago.
Rolos.
Oh, what about Swagger?
I've Rolos down there.
I
Get them out the Rolos.
It said Swagger loads of times, but you know that could be Swagger needs a manager, and you're not going to get any better than Paul Heyman.
No, but I think the most logical route we're going here is Brock Lesnar this evening because it's pay-per-view. It wouldn't be a wasted appearance. You know,
the only thing that throws me off the Brock idea,
and Triple H could come running out to try and beat him up. You don't know what could happen.
But whenever you say about the Maddox thing and the ref thing, I could maybe see that.
Do you know what is really, really weird? Is like when we did the original one of these, the first episode, we were so certain
Of the matches,
that if Punk goes to Rock, that Rock's winning. Where now we're kind of like, we think Rock will win, but there's been too much of a hint there that something.
Put it this way: say if I was placing a bet on this match, I would be betting on Punk.
Exactly, I'm the same. The odds mind are actually reasonably still quite good on Punk, whereas the Rock's is like actually I'll bring it up here because the Rock's is pretty much on their system down as a dead cert to win this.
And you know what WWE are like whenever it gets out. You know, amongst the kind of
like it did with
fans,
that.
They like to kind of change it up a bit just to throw us off.
Yeah, but then that was with the leaked media thing to do with the Rock versus Cena, and what happened there,
That's
interesting. That kind of thing.
The odds have changed for the Punk and Rock match now. We'll go through the sort of matches that we've done already. Alberto Del Rio and Big Show. Alberto Del Rio is as a 1-10 shot to retain the title, so that would mean you would get, if you put £1 down, like a 10p back on top of that, so you get £1 10p. Big Show is down at 11-2, which would be a nice tasty bet. That's just about 5.5 to 1.
Oh, listen to him. 5.5 to 1. Yeah.
Sounds like he's done this before.
So that would be a good bet, but I just don't think you'd have any chance for that. The match that we've bet on, Team Hell No versus Rhodes Scholars. Good thing we got in when we did with the betting.
Changed.
It's now 7-4.
It was 7-2 whenever we.
Yeah, so we get £35 back if we win, as well as our £10 initial bet.
I might have to get a bit of action here.
Well, you're too late. It's now
pie.
7-4. It's probably
no, I mean with a different match.
Oh right, okay. Team Hell No are 7-4, so pretty much just under 2-1, and Rhodes Scholars is 2-5. Sky seem to seem pretty sure Rhodes Scholars. But they're probably just going on the fact that Hell No have retained the belts for so long, so the chances of a drop are there. But Punk is 13-8, so that's again just sort of under 2-1, and then Rock is 4-9, so that's again to them they feel pretty much dead cert that the Rock's going to win this.
That's the easy thing to do, and in many ways this event has been promoted all around the Rock.
Yeah. I mean, that advert, to do with
it's
him.
Just Rock.
I think it would provide much more of an entertaining run to WrestleMania because The Rock says he's going to be at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I think it would be
make him work to get the belt.
I think it would be a far more interesting run in where he gets really motivated and angry at the fact that I promised you I would be WWE champion and I failed.
Especially as we know that whenever you swear to God,
we'll make
it's more
this
or less
right
a
at
confirmation
WrestleMania.
you're going to walk out and win, but if he walks in and doesn't win, and we all know The Rock's the people's champion, he doesn't want to let the people down, so if he does let the people
he's
down,
like, we'll make this right at WrestleMania, and to be quite honest, if he goes to WrestleMania, he'll win it at Mania.
I just think it would be more interesting, a bit of a curveball if they just didn't go with the obvious, but I think the match order will probably tell you a lot as well.
If the WWE title match happens before the Rumble, then I think Punk will retain.
Yeah.
Another thing for me is I honestly, obviously with the World Heavyweight Championship and the WWE Championship next month as we see them in the Elimination Chamber, I can't see The Rock going in an Elimination Chamber.
No, it's hard. Number one, with his movies, won't want to risk it. Number two, he will be a huge draw for Mania, so they won't want to risk that either.
Is The Rock available to work the chamber?
I don't think so. I don't think he would be available to work a steady run as WWE champion.
So that's why maybe they won't just put the belt on, because obviously you've loads of house shows and things.
Because he's a lot of movies to promote over the next couple of months. He's got what's it, that Snitch movie, and then he's got G.I. Joe, and then he's going to have Fast 6 in May. So even after Rumble, May time, the month after Mania, he has to promote Fast 6, and that's going to be a world tour. That's going to be right around the place.
So is this a case of if Rock doesn't win? If Rock doesn't win, we see him. We see him just not do anything until a couple of weeks before Mania.
So if Rock doesn't win, then who do we think he faces at Mania? Does he go down the Cena route? Does Punk go on and face Taker?
I don't think
Rock
he would face
Undertaker?
Taker.
Rock Undertaker? I mean, there's so many possibilities.
I think that'd be interesting. I would love if Punk was to retain and then we got a Punk Undertaker or something like that.
That is the match I think
That
I
would
would
be
love.
fantastic because
I love the idea of streak
not that I
versus
wouldn't
streak.
love to see Punk versus Rock at WrestleMania Live,
Yeah.
but we're gonna have seen it here at the Rumble, so repeating it at Mania, you know, whether it would mean more, they'd have to up it, which is the thing, you know, which is the reason why I almost think they should keep the, you know, the whole once in a lifetime thing with him and Cena is like,
Keep it
don't
special,
push it.
keep it what it was.
yeah, exactly, you know, the 3 Austin matches with The Rock were great because number one, they were still both active wrestlers at the time, so they were still.
But it was every 2 years. It wasn't every single year.
Exactly.
You know.
Although in saying that, I do think if Rock did face Cena and it was for the title, I mean, the fact that it may be for the title does have that other element to it.
So, what are we going to go for? And I'm going to go for Punk, and I cannot believe I'm saying that, having in the original episode thought it was such a dead cert for The Rock.
I'm going for Punk as well.
I'm actually going to go for The Rock.
I'm not going to say I'd be disappointed if The Rock won tonight, because
Okay.
I am a huge Rock fan from when I was younger in the Attitude Era.
And
I
if
could
Rock
just
wins,
see-
no one's going to be shocked.
I could just see this adding more heel heat to Punk. If Punk was to lose after all this time to a part-timer, a guy who just comes in whenever he wants,
They
this is
really-
going to
I
add
think
more
when
fuel
Punk
to the fire.
Loses the
Exactly.
belt, it has to be really worthwhile and really
I
capitalize on.
just think if Punk can go over The Rock tonight, that again pushes him to a higher level, and then in that run into WrestleMania, if he faces Rock again, or even we somehow get a Punk Undertaker,
Or Punk Austin.
if you were to have him go over The Rock tonight and then head towards that Punk Undertaker possibility, you're going to honestly think Punk has a chance
Exactly.
in that match against
Where
Undertaker.
if he can't beat
What
The Rock,
what could be bigger? I know we had it a few years ago with Edge and Undertaker. Edge was undefeated at WrestleMania. Undertaker obviously undefeated, but Edge had the World Heavyweight title, so not only was it streak versus streak, but it was title as well. The fact that by the time WrestleMania comes around, I think Punk will be over 500 days as champion to face off against the
you
Undertaker.
can really,
That would be huge. That would
you
be,
can just
that
see
would
the
be
T-shirt already. can't you?
crazy numbers. But again, it's just a case of would Undertaker be able to go that, you know, sort of pace of a match he
I
can do
think so.
with Punk.
I think so.
I would think with Punk involved, Punk could.
I like the way we've
power
talked
as
about
well.
protecting Undertaker tonight. Oh, Undertaker versus CM Punk, you know, streak versus
Yeah.
No, I do think he is going in for a big match this year, as he always does. You know, because at the end of the day, he is only a one-match guy, and he
Yeah.
builds himself up, looks after himself.
It's like, bye, see you in a year.
A Punk versus Taker match is feasible, but if not, you know, working some sort of tag match
So-
could be the alternative.
Punk, Rock.
Yeah.
Fair enough. First disagreement of the evening.
A disagreement.
Okay.
I'm right, you're wrong.
The 30-man Royal Rumble match. This is where it gets interesting. I'll go through some of the odds here for a laugh.
God.
I have two possibilities for me.
I've placed 2 bets. And we'll talk about those in a
Okay,
bit.
well, I'll listen to the odds. and
We'll
that.
go towards, let's just say, the bottom of the list for odds. Who's the rank outsiders? Jimmy and Jey Uso at 300 to 1. Michael McGillicuddy 300 to 1. Justin Gabriel 250 to 1.
We're enticing the kids.
Great
also.
Khali 250 to 1.
Do share Tensei.
Brodus Clay 250 to 1. All the 200 to 1s are Billy Gunn, Zach Gowen. Zach Gowen?
What the hell?
That wasn't there earlier. Drew McIntyre, Titus O'Neil, Jinder Mahal, the Road Dogg, Darren Young. They're all 200 to 1. Heath Slater's 175 to 1. Zack Ryder's 100 to 1. Vicky Guerrero is also 100 to 1. As is Biggie Langston. Ray is 66 to 1, as is Christian and Shelton Benjamin.
Shelby B.
Shelty B.
Jericho was on that.
MVP and Joe Moore are 50 to 1, as is Kofi Kingston. Dean Ambrose, Chris Jericho, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins are all 40 to 1. Triple H, Damian Sandow, Cody Rhodes, Big Show and Wade Barrett are 33 to 1. Cesaro, Daniel Bryan, Vince McMahon are 20 to 1. Miz is 16 to 1. Punk is 16 to 1. Brad Maddox is 10 to 1. As is Sheamus. Brock Lesnar 8 to 1. Randy Orton 6 to 1. Rock now down to 5 to 1. Ziggler now down 5 to 1. Undertaker down to 5 to 1. Ryback 11 to 4. John Cena 8 to 13. So they feel John Cena is a dead cert for the Rumble. I hope not. And I hope we don't get a Randy Orton. But I will say that I've placed 2 bets for the Rumble. The first being The Rock. This one's more of a gamble than I would have liked to have. I kind of just went for it. This will depend, obviously, if the WWE title goes on first. If the WWE title goes on first, then Punk wins. Then you've said it before.
Yeah.
We think Rock will go in the Rumble. And I would think he would win it. If we see him lose and he goes into the Rumble, I think he'll win.
He'll have a really, really low number. Like he
But
probably number 4, I would imagine.
Then the other one I have is Mr. Ziggler, as does Mr. Hill.
I have a £5 bet.
He was extravagant. He put £5.
I went all out.
I put a tenner.
Bet the house in the room.
But I bet on Ziggler when he was at 7-1, so I'll get 70 quid if he wins.
What was it?
I bet on The Rock when he was 10-1, so I'll get 100 quid back if he wins. Everybody seems to be hoping at Ziggler again. It's gonna be one of those things. I think definitely, yeah.
I think if he doesn't win, he's going to have a very strong performance.
He's definitely. I think he'll be. At least Final 4.
I mean, it's either going to be a case of he's either going to have a really strong performance or he's going to have a really poor performance and get thrown out.
It'll be one or other. It'll be one or other.
But I
think it would, it would be kind of funny the way you're saying about possibly Rock could end up with a low number. Dolph Ziggler number 1, Rock number 2. That would be pretty tasty.
That would be.
But I would like to see them give him a kind of Shawn Michaels type run in the Rumble and kind of, get a good long performance.
I do think he'll get to the Final 4.
Yeah.
I'll see him in the Final 4.
And then people are, of course, talking about the interesting dynamic where if Dolph did win, then he would, of course, potentially have money in the bank.
Which is something I was talking about a couple of weeks ago, in the fact that I think there is the possibility that Ziggler goes on, he wins the Rumble. We see Ziggler face up against Alberto Del Rio at WrestleMania for obvious reasons, because his money in the bank is for the World Heavyweight title. That it would be logical in the fact that Ziggler has a match with Del Rio, or whoever is the World Heavyweight Champion if Del Rio doesn't have the title by then. They have their match. Something happens, whether he gets beat by Del Rio or we see Big E Langston come in, beat up Del Rio.
It'd be interesting to see those two face off in the Rumble, Big E and Dolph, whether Dolph tells him to get out.
And it's a new interesting kind of dynamic.
He could be there to protect Dolph through to the final feud.
Him and Ryback will probably go at it.
But Big E comes in, beats up Del Rio or something, that causes Ziggler to get DQ'd. But Big E has destroyed Del Rio beyond comprehension, so Ziggler just immediately goes, alright, I'll just cash in my money in the bank, bang, pin. I think that would be an interesting dynamic. Plus, I'm still kind of hoping that we get to see a Money in the Bank cash in at WrestleMania.
Or they could just go down the route of he wins the Rumble, faces Del Rio at Mania, loses, but then in the few months after kind of teases that he still has this one opportunity, and can do it before July time.
Or what if we hear the return of Money in the Bank at WrestleMania,
which is rumoured,
and he's in that match, so he has 2 Money in the Bank briefcases.
Way out now, but
one for WWE, one for World Heavyweight Championship.
So, personally, Ziggler.
2 options for me: Ziggler or Ryback. I think.
Speaking of this.
He better not.
He knows where I'm going.
Here's
elimination total of 11.
Yeah.
Do you think we will see it beat? I personally think we will.
I'm going to say we won't, but I would be mega pissed if we will.
I think that we will see Ryback beat Kane, but I think Kane will beat Shawn Michaels in the total eliminated.
I would love to see some sort of...
See, that's what I was thinking. I think that would be a fair trade-off. Yeah. If Ryback is going to beat the most eliminations in a Rumble, then give Kane, I think it's 4 or 5 or something like that, to tie with Michaels.
I would love to
see
some sort of interesting dynamic even between them, where Ryback's on a roll, Kane comes out and tries to stop Ryback.
I think it would be interesting that if Ryback is at 11 eliminations and Kane
comes out at that point,
either comes out or has been out, and then it's Ryback eliminates Kane to get number 12.
Yeah.
or like Daniel Bryan accidentally costs Kane and then Ryback eliminates Kane or something like that. I think.
I can see something happen, but I would like Kane to keep that one streak intact, you know.
Or there could kind of be sort of a face-off between Ryback and Kane, seeing how many they can eliminate in this round.
I could see something different happening.
What do you think?
I could see Ryback coming out and doing quite well, and then Shield coming out interfering, costing.
I do see that something
top rope.
I do think something like that will happen. Is that
because
the Shield will all come out and be in there at some stage all together.
Yeah.
And they'll run roughhouse like they will eliminate quite a few people. You'll probably see them eliminate a few mid-carders and stuff like that. And then
that's even if they're in the Rumble. They could just come out from the crowd and then just eliminate him.
And wasn't it Macho Man eliminated himself? Wasn't someone eliminated and then came back and threw them out and it counted? Years ago it happened.
That always happens, so it does.
That
was Austin. Austin came out and then he threw the guys out.
But
Ryback has a good chance, I think.
Yeah.
And if Ryback, if he doesn't win, he will have a very strong performance because he needs a strong performance.
He needs something after.
He hasn't been doing a lot. With Punk, obviously he's lost all their matches, and yes, as I've said before, it has been in kind of dirty fashion. But he needs some sort of something to put to his name at this point. Otherwise, it's just going to be another flop.
Yeah.
So Ziggler
or Ryback for me. But I'm hoping
Shelton Benjamin.
No.
Suppose that's another thing we can mention in a second. But go ahead.
I would say Ziggler or I will stick with my Rock or Punk thing. If one of them loses, he'll come in and Rumble and then he'll win. I've said that since the DNR, so I'll stick with that.
Okay. The other thing is there has been rumours of other people, the regular surprises in the Rumble.
I
was trying to keep them. I was trying to keep them from myself, but there is one that is out there that a lot of people will know is.
I don't know. So
I just mentioned them.
Oh, did you? Okay. Fair enough.
Shelton Benjamin.
I didn't know that.
We know every year that Kofi Kingston does some sort of crazy over the top sort of rescue save.
Well, not over the top because then he'd be eliminated.
But he's thrown over the top and then saves himself. Shelton was the originator of crazy spots, Money in the Bank, stuff like that. I wonder could we see sort of match up like they go to eliminate each other. One gets thrown over, saves themselves crazy. The other one comes back, throws the other over, saves himself.
I think those two would make a really, really good tag team.
The Gold Standard and Kofi.
I'm tired of seeing.
I hope he doesn't.
That's all he does.
I really hope that Shelton Benjamin doesn't come out to the Gold Standard music. I'm sorry because that was sort of wasn't it like the really stupid slow version like you can't stop me. Like, no, it was like it was like you turned the record speed down. But
thanks very much for that, Vic Reeves.
But he would be cool to see. I hope we get someone as cool as we did with Road Dogg last year.
What about
or Diesel?
Do you think it's what about someone like Taker showing up in the Rumble? Can that be completely ruled out, or could you?
No, it can't be completely ruled out at all.
I could see maybe what they did the year whenever it was Kane and him, whenever Spike Dudley was coming out, and then the gong went, and then Kane was like, "No, I buried you alive," and then somebody throws him out and he goes and beats the crap out of Spike Dudley. I could see maybe that happen to somebody, but then that would tease who we're going to see, at WrestleMania, because I think obviously Taker doesn't do a lot of TV, so they need to kind of spaces out, like they did whenever he was facing Randy Orton. So
fair enough. That's the Royal Rumble then, everybody. That's our predictions. We have money riding on it, us too, so fingers crossed our matches come through for us. So we have something else we want to talk about. This is only kind of recently came to light. It was posted on the Wrestling Observer message board, and it has details on the current contract and salary information for the most active wrestlers on the WWE roster.
Like whenever Carlos Tevez is
did you see that?
I did see that.
And some are rather shocking in regards to lack of pay and a lot of money being paid to some that it shouldn't be paid to.
There's a huge gap there.
There is a big gap. So first note here, it says it would appear that WWE standard contract lengths are 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 7 year or 10 year.
10 year Mark Henry.
Note 2, some performers are offered a higher merchandise royalties percentage for
John
taking,
Cena.
for taking a smaller downside.
Where did this come from, by the way, did you say?
It's been posted by apparently like a person who owns stock in the company. The way they send out these reports.
Yeah.
Sorry, they take a higher. They take a lower downside for a higher merchandise percentage. Those figures were not made available. Note 3, the executive office and Legends contracts were not made available. These contracts operate on a different system entirely. Note 4, the Undertaker is believed to be on a pay per appearance contract in which he is paid an agreed upon rate, along with a typical pay-per-view bonus if he wrestles for each appearance he makes for the company. Undertaker, of course, still receives his merchandise royalties, etc., but isn't on a downside contract like everybody else. Undertaker is not on a Legends contract, which means he cannot make appearances for independent promotions. So, male wrestlers on the roster, and so these guys haven't seen this at all yet, so I'll just throw names out in totals and see
if we swear, sorry.
Please don't.
I'll try not to.
We are live on the internet. Please do not say okay, Alberto Del Rio, $675,000 downside, including first class travel, 3-year contract.
Right, okay.
I think that's a fair enough amount in terms
Well,
of...
I suppose he has to do first class to keep his character.
Yeah, exactly. Big Show, I think this is where we're going to get our first interesting reaction. $1,050,000 downside before pay-per-view bonuses. Allocated a personal touring bus / first class travel arrangements paid for when bus travel is not an option. 10-year contract. This is the one he's just recently signed.
Jeez.
But he's been long known as one of the highest earners in wrestling.
I'm actually shocked that Big Show thinks he can go another 10 years if I'm totally honest.
Has he said that?
Yeah. Well, that's what it's contract.
He's still young though, isn't
But
he?
necessarily you don't, if you sign a 10-year contract,
Yeah,
it's
but
necessarily
with him being a giant, like his bones and stuff will start
because it's the same in all sports. Footballers can sign 5-year contracts, ice hockey players can sign 7-year contracts, but they could retire in 2.
Yeah.
It's as long as it means that they're tied to WB for 10 years if WWE needs them. Christian, I've missed someone. Brodus Clay, $170,000 downside, 2-year contract, no first class travel, no nothing.
See you later, Brodus.
Christian,
What do they call his mama?
Christian, $595,000 downside / first class travel, 3-year contract.
I can see that.
Here's our first tasty interesting one. CM Punk, $1,220,500 downside before pay-per-view bonuses.
Bus.
Allocated personal touring bus, like you say. First class travel arrangements if bus not available. Receives an additional 3.25% bonus for high merchandise sales. 7-year contract. And with the way his merchandise is being, that 3.25% will be a tasty wee figure on top of that.
It's almost as good as George Lucas signing the merchandising rights.
Right. Cody Rhodes, $494,500 downside, 3-year contract. It's not bad, really.
For where he's at, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
For where he's at. Daniel Bryan. See, this is interesting. The gulf between Cody Rhodes and Daniel Bryan isn't as big as you'd think. Daniel Bryan, $620,470 downside, 3-year contract, not even given first class travel. Darren Young, this is our first shocker. Darren Young, $80,150 downside, 3-year contract. I think that is ridiculous. Like, let me just double check. I'm going to put this in my converter, what that works out in pounds, because that's just.
I think that's one that
that works out at pretty much £50,000 pounds on the dot. For when you consider
what
the amount of dates they'll be doing all the house shows, all that
Darren
sort of
Young,
stuff.
no days off and gets paid that.
Yep, exactly. Dolph Ziggler, $540,230 downside, 3-year contract, not even first class
It's
travel.
funny that these ones are all paid higher than Christian as well. He's more established.
Well, apart from Darren Young.
Well, yeah, but apart from him, who
Christian is 50,000 more than Dolph.
Oh well, that's neither here nor there, really.
It's a small change. Jack Swagger, $319,000 downside, 3-year contract, no first class travel. Here is another shocker. Jinder Mahal, $75,000 downside, 3-year contract.
Honestly, I'm surprised he gets paid that much.
Here is the big boy, John Cena.
Oh, this is going to be a good couple of mil here.
$2,750,000 downside. First class travel and accommodation.
Boss.
Doesn't say bus, but he
No,
does have a bus. We know
He has a
that.
boss.
Receives an additional 6.25% bonus for high merchandise sales.
Good God Almighty.
10-year contract. Let's just say that 6.25% would be rather tasty.
See all you wrestlers that went before here. I make more than you all combined.
Here's the one that a certain individual will be interested in. I got a text message.
Kane.
Is it Kane? Let's see. Who is it?
Kane?
Sky Bet.
It's Mike Lacey. Hello. Let's see. Oh, right. Philadelphia Flyers are 1-0 up. Thank you for that, Mike. 59 seconds. Right. Kane. $905,000 downside / first class travel and accommodation. 5-year contract.
To the guts of $1 million.
Guts of $1 million, yeah, not too bad. And the first class travel, so can't complain about that. Kofi Kingston.
Sorry, can I just say that how are those two meant to travel together?
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan's not first class.
No.
You know.
No.
And something else I could bring
Both
up.
sit at the back.
Right. Next up, and this one was actually quite surprising to me how low this is for who he is. Kofi Kingston, $254,200 downside, 3-year contract.
For the amount of dates he does as well.
He's Mr. House Show, like
Yeah,
does
he
them all.
is very, very rarely, if at all,
and for the
injured.
stuff he does, like, as well. And we are excluding all pay-per-view bonuses and all here, so, you know, he would make a lot more over the course of a year for pay-per-views, but he hasn't been on pay-per-views a great deal this last sort of few months, bar for when he had the Intercontinental title.
No, obviously the Rumble participants get paid their bonuses and that kind
But
of
if
thing.
anyone's being honest, his stock in the company is not high.
It's
That's
not
all.
there.
It never will be and it never has been.
Right. Next interesting one.
Randy Orton.
No. You mentioned him a few moments ago.
Did it?
Mark Henry.
God, this is going to be fun.
Will be interesting.
First class travel, obviously.
First class travel.
Will he get a bus? No, he wouldn't get a bus because he's
No,
not
he
that-
doesn't get a bus.
Somewhere in the 5.
I would say.
What? Give me a prediction.
Somewhere in the
Raj.
5.
So you think about $500,000?
Around that.
I would say closer to $1 million. I'd say 800.
Oh, that's
He's right. $877,000 downside with first class travel, 10-year contract.
my.
Jeez.
Why?
Why?
I just think that's a bit overpriced
For Mark Henry, like, you know.
considering how much they get out of him.
That's like you buying. That's like you saying.
But
I
then I
want to buy.
suppose, you know, as we've said, it doesn't just mean in the ring. It could be their personal appearances, their
But that's
media
like-
they do.
But
or
that's
what.
like you saying, right, okay, I've got all this money, I want to get Ronaldo from Real Madrid, and you do, and you get him injured, and you're paying him $200,000
Yeah,
a week for him to
exactly.
sit around doing nothing.
Right?
He did go to the Olympics for them.
I think you all still.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go eat your Rolos.
I think that's a bit overpriced for him.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I
I,
mean,
could have accepted around the sort of 400,000, 500,000 to it. I know we're talking about this like a spare change, but nonetheless. You'd mentioned him, Mr. Randy Borton.
This is going to be
Give me a
At
guess.
least $1 million for
$1.5 million.
$1,600,500 downside. Allocated a personal tour bus / first class travel if arrangements if the bus can't get there. And receives an additional 2.2% bonus for high merchandise
To be
sales.
honest with you,
10-year contract.
he doesn't really sell an awful lot of merch.
A lot of his recent t-shirts haven't been appealing to me or anything.
It's
So
always like, here's a gas mask. Why?
But that's must be why he has a slightly lower downside, you know, than anything is that he's taking.
He would still be one of the bigger merch sellers overall.
Is there many more to go on?
No, we've about half a dozen other male wrestlers, and then we'll quickly fly through the divas.
Just fly through the divas, and if there's nobody really...
Oh no, there is interesting ones here. There is actually. Rey Mysterio, give me a guess.
Easily $1 million.
$1.5 million again.
Close to it.
$985,000 downside, first class travel, receives an additional 4% bonus for his merchandise
Oh,
sales.
well, that's near enough $1.5 million.
5-year contract. Sheamus.
I'd probably say about 800.
About 8. 7 or 8.
$1 million downside, first class
alright.
travel,
Good on you, fella!
7-year contract. Tensai.
I will guess 350.
500.
500.
My goodness, he's
$520,000
Oh
downside.
my word.
3-year contract.
Tensai.
No wonder.
No,
he came
no
back.
first class travel though. That is a lot of money for a jobber.
Hashtag
That's
Tensai
twice.
rich.
That's twice
But
as
you
much
see-
as Kofi Kingston.
But they had big plans for him at first, you know.
Yeah,
Hashtag Tensai rich.
you're ready to absolutely cack your pants. Great Kelly, come on, give me a guess.
Oh my god, well up.
Near the 1 million.
I'm gonna say 700.
$974,000 downside 5-year contract
That's ridiculous.
for all that he does.
Is that why they're saying get in the ring now? We're paying you all this
No
money. get in
wonder
the
we're
ring."
currently seeing him and Hornswoggle on the team. They need to do something.
Sadly, Hornswoggle isn't on this list. Next up, The Miz.
About 7 or 8. Maybe more. Maybe
No,
more.
I
I'm
would
going to say 9.
Yeah, I was going to say 9 too.
$712,000
That is a
downside.
bit of a shocker.
First class travel, so he's not doing too bad in that department. 5-year contract. Zack Ryder, our final male wrestler, that's on the list.
400.
$135,050 downside,
My goodness.
but receives an additional 1.5% bonus for merchandise sales 3-year contract.
Per Zach.
I know, poor Zack.
He really does.
He doesn't even get a
rough-
decent percentage of bonus.
Gets
He
a
gets
rough
a rough-
ride.
Divas, we'll quickly blow through these.
Who are
Oh.
they?
Alicia Fox,
I couldn't even begin to predict what they're on.
73,520 downside. She almost makes as much as Jinder Mahal. And doesn't do house shows as much. 3-year contract. AJ Lee,
Say about 90.
104,300.
What?
Layla,
Well, about
Around the 90.
86,450 downside. These are all 3-year contracts for Divas. Natalia,
She's going to get paid pittance.
I would say maybe.
I'm going to say like 10.
70,000.
I'm going to say 10.
74,400, and she gets paid $2,000 more than Alicia Fox.
That's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
For the talent. Like,
Right, a few announcers here. Booker T. How much does he get?
I'd probably say somewhere close to
800. I'm going to go for maybe 5 or 6.
477,375,
You see, I think-
including first class travel.
If he was more active, you know, as a wrestler, maybe more for him. but
Jerry Lawler,
7.
I'm going to go for about 5.
$500,000 downside, first class travel
Yeah.
accommodation, but he has built,
Well,
but he has built in his contract that he is allowed to make independent appearances. 5-year contract.
Oh, well, I suppose.
Matt Striker,
300.
say about 4.
$164,000 downside, 3-year contract, and finally to round off the list,
Tony Chimmel.
Michael Cole.
I would say close to
5.
2 million for
5.
Michael Cole.
500,000 or so. £549,000, including first class travel, 5-year contract.
So basically, the rich get rich and the poor.
Get shafted.
Yeah.
There is a big
The
difference
workhorses
between
get shafted.